What is going on, YouTube people? Neo Cards and Comics here today for another edition of the weekly sports card market update. Before we dive in too much, shout out happy Veterans Day / weekend. I know it was actually yesterday, but happy Veterans Day to all our current, former, active, whatever you are. If you served or are serving, shout out and thank you to you from me and the collecting community at large. Today, a lot of news. There is a lot of stuff to cover. We will get into some charts and graphs, but there'll be a little lesson this week because we do have just a lot of little odds and ends of things. Some of the stuff I've covered, some of the stuff I have not, but we are going to dive in and talk about it today. Had my local show today, Canton, Ohio, in Hartville, at the flea market there. Went over, picked up one card. Kind of a cool one, kind of fell into it. Once again, that's kind of how I'm handling the market. I'll do a video on that card next week sometime potentially. But I am, as I've discussed, I'm just taking things as they fall into my lap. I'm not forcing the action. If something comes to me that I like or that I am looking for and it is priced correctly, I will pull the trigger on it. But I'm not going out like just randomly hunting stuff. I'm going to let the market kind of dictate things to me and take the deals where I can find them. And I feel like I did that today. Maybe I didn't buy at the absolute bottom. Maybe I did. I don't know, but it was a card that I wanted and it was priced very fairly. So I snagged it. Like I said, more on that next week. I am sure I will probably spoil it and post it over on Instagram. So if you want a sneak peek on that, go follow me on IG. It is in the description of this video, neo_cards_comics. Let's get into some news, and it ties in with our good friends channel partner ComC, who is sponsoring today's video as they do all the weekly sports card market updates. A couple things they got going on, and I have an update for you on something we talked about earlier this week regarding eBay AutoPay. We'll talk about that in a second. ComC is beginning to run some of their holiday sales. The current thing they have going on right now, among a few things, is a grading submission decrease. They're doing $22 a card for PSA and I believe $13 a card for CGC. That runs, I believe, through the end of the year. They have their Black Friday seller promotions all lined up, and I think they got a few other little things in store before everything is said and done. So keep an eye peeled over on comc.com. I have another shipment I need to get out the door to them. I just need to rip the last 2 boxes of Marvel anime I have so I can kind of sort through those and send everything in one blast. I continue to slowly move through the inventory that I have over there, building up that bankroll to potentially make some plays on some PC cards when the time is right. But yeah, there's the grading update right there. $22 for PSA, $13 for CGC. I got one of my PSA orders back. It was actually the one that I sent in second. I sent in one in very late July, like July 31st, and I sent another one in very early August. The one from very early August came back, a bunch of Ellie De La Cruz Tops Now stuff, and still waiting on the other one to come back, the smaller order with 4 cards in it. I've been trying to submit those to sell on ComC's live auctions on eBay, but I keep forgetting about the time slot on noon Fridays, and it fills up really fast. Every time I remember, it's already full. So I keep meaning to try to get those cards into there, and I just cannot remember to do it. Maybe next week. Let's transition into the news, and once again, this is going to tie in with ComC. Earlier this week, we talked about AutoPay coming to eBay, and one of the things that I was speculating on was, how would this affect ComC and people that wanted to use ComC credit to pay for auctions, for ComC auctions and things like that with the AutoPay feature. I talked to ComC on Friday. They have confirmed to me that they are not affected by it was Thursday, and they ended up actually sending out an email. They are not affected by this. They have worked with eBay. The AutoPay feature will not be enabled basically for their account. Now, my speculation here, I don't have confirmation on this, but ComC is obviously one of the biggest sellers on the platform, along with your Probsteins, your DC Sports, and a few of the other big card consigners. I wonder if they are doing similar things with them as well, where they'll either have it disabled or maybe have the choice to do it. Don't know. But at least from a ComC perspective, that is nice to see that you still will be able to use your ComC credit to pay for those auctions. Maybe it's just ComC that got carved out because of their kind of unique relationship with eBay and the transfer of cards, ComC auctions running on there and just being able to keep them in your ComC account. Like I said, don't know if this will affect other consigners or not, but ComC is in the clear. A lot of feedback on that video on the whole eBay auto pay thing. That is a hot button issue as always. I did a poll on it. Like 85% of people were in favor of it. We'll have to see. We'll get a better vibe for this as it fully rolls out. eBay always moves really slow on this stuff, so it's probably going to take a couple weeks, or I'm sorry, a couple months before everyone sees this live on their account, and then we'll kind of go from there on exactly how big of an impact this has, and do they make any improvements to it. As we talked about in that video, it would be nice if they could figure out a way to clean up combined shipping, and they have got to figure out letting you use your eBay spendable funds on there. And I am sure the people that want to do shady stuff will figure out a loophole or ways around it as well. So they will need to keep their eye on that to combat some of that stuff. Next up, this is an interesting one. I'm not going to dive into too much detail because I really want you guys to go watch the video. Simon466 Cards on YouTube did this video. He did a deep dive on the Nationals returns, basically, in regards to, how much money, how profitable is the National. And like I said, I don't want to spoil anything. I know Dan the Cardman talked about it in his news video earlier today, and he's planning on doing a deeper dive on it. And he has an accounting background, I believe. But go watch Simon's video, and like I said, everything might be fine. It makes you go, I will leave it at that. There is some interesting things in Simon's video regarding those numbers. Everything might be on the up and up, but there's at least some questions that need to be asked. We'll just kind of leave it at that. I am not an accountant. I do not have an MBA. I am just a guy that talks into a microphone in a basement. So I'm going to leave it to the professionals to break this one down that have the expertise, the training, and the knowledge to talk about this stuff. But definitely some red flags raised, at least for me, in that video. We'll see what happens. We'll see if there is an official response. Like I said, maybe it's absolutely nothing, but it is at least worth checking out. So go check out Simon's video. I will say that I will link to it, but we all know that I typically forget whenever it comes to that stuff because I record and then I edit way later sometimes, and I don't remember to drop the link in. So it is Simon466 Cards. He's also a viewer of the channel. We've talked in DMs in the past. Go ahead and check out his video. Definitely worth the watch. Next up, the LeBron stuff came out this week. Still, falling out from that. We still really don't know what set or year, or we know it's going to be Bowman Chrome U, but we don't know exactly. No other details have come out about this yet, which is weird. Fanatics, what are you guys doing? I think Sports Card Nonsense talked about this. Do you guys have a marketing department? Yeah, you have these guys on exclusive deals, and you don't do any sort of formal announcement. And like I said, we don't know the details on the LeBron thing, but they never really did a true formal announcement on Stroud, on Wemby, and now there's this. The cat's out of the bag. Kind of what are we waiting for? Start building the hype. A lot of chatter about this week in regards to, how will this affect LeBron's legacy autos, his older stuff. The net result seems to be just kind of general consensus from talking to people and watching other content and listening to stuff, that additional supply is obviously going to decrease the price of his current autographs. They're not going to crater. They're not going to go to zero and nothing crazy like that. They will probably even remain more valuable than the modern stuff, depending on what the modern stuff is. There's always going to be people that have a soft spot in their heart for those old Upper Deck autos, so those will probably always hold a little bit of a premium over the modern stuff. I did notice this week, because I have some saved searches set up for LeBron autos. It feels like, and this is just anecdotal, this is just a gut feel thing, it Feels like I saw a lot more come to market this week than I have in the past. Now, that could just be, people selling out of stuff because of the time of year and the market trending down and they need cash. Or I wonder if people are trying to get ahead of whatever is coming next in the LeBron auto market. Because, like I said, we are going to see more of these. I don't think we're going to see a ton of them, but more supply is more supply. So we'll see what happens. I think the most exciting thing out of this, from what I've heard, and I agree with this, is the possibility of him having Lakers autos. Now, I don't care about that. I wouldn't touch that card with a 10-foot pole, but a lot of people will care about that. Whenever they end up with the NBA license in a couple years, and assuming, whatever this deal is they have with LeBron, if they can produce LeBron autos and whatever their high-end product is, that's going to be a big chase. Imagine we don't know exactly what the Topps lineup is going to look like a couple years from now when they have basketball. But imagine a Topps Dynasty patch with a sick patch on it with a LeBron Lakers jersey inserted in it, or even the Heat for that matter, or some triple patch where it's a Cavs jersey, a Heat jersey, a Lakers jersey, and then, his on-card auto on it, all game used or something like that. That stuff will have quite a bit of demand and chase to it for sure. We'll talk more about Topps here in a couple minutes. HGA, talked about this on Saturday. If you didn't miss that video, go check it out. Just a quick hitter here. They have sold. Selling for the second time in a year is a rough look. We'll see what these guys can do with it. We'll keep an eye on it. We'll see what their grading numbers look like over the next couple months, as GemRate is now tracking that stuff to a degree. So we'll continue to do those updates and keep an eye on their submission numbers. Hopefully they can turn it around. Time will tell. I am skeptical at best, but we'll see what happens. Back on the Topps news front. They had a couple other things besides the LeBron auto. Busy Topps week. They kind of dropped this one on us. Dutch auction for a CJ Stroud on-card rookie auto. It's got a rookie logo on it. It's not, if you follow the rules of Victor, it's not a true rookie card. It's not pack pulled. It's non-logoed. It's non-licensed. It's a kind of cool looking card. It's Tyson Beck artwork. It's an on-card auto. They put these up for Dutch auction earlier this week, celebrating the 470 yards with the 5 touchdowns. It's funny. I sold that Stroud on a Tuesday, and as I left, the next day, this went up. They put it up on Dutch auction. I've seen people reporting that it sold out at $400. I'm pretty sure it sold out at $700, $750-ish. I think people don't realize that the timer continues to run even though the card's sold out and you can't click on anything to add it to cart. So if you just glance at it, it looks like it may be sold out lower, but I am pretty sure it went out of stock at about $750, $700. I have a feeling we will see more of stuff like this. This is really the first true Topps produced football card for a professional player, kind of since all this is shaken out. But we have our Stroud on-card auto. Good image, good pose. I kind of like what they did to kind of avoid all the logos and stuff like that. And like I said, if he continues to play well, they are going to continue to milk this. I believe this was numbered out of 399 or 375 or something, with different tiers in between. 190 out of 199, I believe, was the base. Then there was an out of 99 and out of 50, so on and so forth. And when you order one of these, if you don't realize, they send it to you in a pack. You don't know what you're getting, but when you get it, I actually should have. Now that I think about that, I ordered one of those Ellie De La Cruz triple stolen base when he stole home Topps Now cards. That should be shipping anytime. I think it was between October and November, around November when that was supposed to ship. So I should hopefully be seeing that pretty soon. But curious for your thoughts on this. Did you grab one of these? Did you hop on this train? I know some people that bought the base. They also had a base card version of this without the autograph that sold for quite a bit less. That was not a Dutch auction. I think it was just printed demand. So we'll see how this stuff kind of plays out. It'll be an interesting, does this affect the instant auto market like the one that I had? Do people look at this, like more than essentially a fancy leaf card? I don't know. We're kind of in uncharted water with this stuff because there is no competition with it, or very limited competition with it, with officially licensed cards. It's a little bit of a different story when you have an officially licensed bunch of stuff coming out autograph wise for a player. Now you don't. So things are still kind of squirrely there. I don't know that we have our full grasp on how this stuff will age. It'll be interesting to kind of see what these sell for once they get in people's hands. Next up, more top stuff. Listen, I've said this before. I will continue to say it. Topps and Fanatics is going to do some dumb stuff. We're going to get mad about it. We're not going to like it. They're also going to do some cool stuff. I don't like the way that they price definitive boxes at 2K. I don't like, the CJ Stroud we were just talking about. I hate that that was a Dutch auction. I hate that they continue to use those. But they are coming out with some pretty cool cards. This isn't Topps Definitive. This is a 101. There's actually 2 of these. This is the hitting version. There is also a pitching version of this. Ohtani, Ruth, dual auto. Obviously a cut auto for Ruth. 101 in the newest definitive product. Absolutely crazy card. I mean, just a crazy card. I'll obviously never be able to afford this. I'll never be able to rip this. But it is really cool that a card like this exists. Props to them for putting this together and coming up with this idea. Pretty decent design on that card. Actually, I think it looks pretty good. We'll see what they look like in hand once they get pulled. And then we will see who pulls them. That'll always be the interesting part. In that same regard, once again, there's stuff that Topps does that we don't like, and there's stuff that we do that they do like. Topps Inception. Now, this isn't necessarily new, but it's something I was specifically asking for when, Topps and Fanatics kind of took things over. Was on-card autos with game-used stuff that we could tie back to a specific event or situation or whatever the case might be. This is something that they're doing in Inception. It's called First Milestones. So this is a base, part of a base from Jordan Walker's first career hit. Listen, I get it. Topps and Fanatics is not for everybody. They do a lot of stuff that pisses me off. This is cool. I really like the idea of cards like this. The Ohtani Ruth was really cool. That's an unattainable card for 99% of people. This will be an expensive card, but they can make a lot of these. A base is pretty big. I don't know what his first hit was. I don't know if this is first base. Whatever the situation is, they could do a lot more stuff like this. They have the MLB debut patch thing that's in update. That's obviously going to be super expensive. Something like this will be expensive, but it'll probably be more affordable. And there's just a lot of different angles that they could take with this, especially in baseball. And my hope is that we see, once they get the licenses for football and for basketball, that we continue to see stuff like this. Could we get a card with a piece of the net in it from someone's first made shot or the first game that they ever played? Or obviously a piece of the ball, a piece of the court. In football, could I get a chunk of the pylon that maybe the player dove for their first touchdown? I don't know. There's just a lot of crazy stuff. I have to imagine we continue to see the debut patches across all sports as things continue to expand out and they attain those other licenses. But I love the idea of a card with a piece tied to a specific thing. And like I said, I know this is nothing new. They have done this in the past, but they have the relationships with the leagues. They're doubled down with the leagues on this stuff. Continue to expand upon this and make cool cards with things like that in it. Stuff like this, to me, is way cooler. Way cooler. It's a much better card than a flawless or NT RPA that has a Dick's jersey in it, or a Walmart jersey in it, or a Team Shop jersey in it that is not associated with any specific game or event. I think stuff like this is really cool. I am glad to see them continuing to go down this path. I just hope they keep doing it. And once again, they're going to do some dumb stuff too. But I do want to give them credit for coming up with designs for cool cards that people will want to go after. All right, soapbox over. Let's pop into market movers and look at some charts and graphs for baseball, basketball, football. We're going to look at the 3 major sports. I got one chart and graph for each sport, so we'll try to keep this quick. If you want to check out market movers, look in the link in the description down below. Discount codes, whole 9 yards. let's go ahead and dive in. A little baseball first. We are coming up on what is typically one of the better times of year to purchase baseball cards. Now, the market is still in a downward spiral. We don't know what the future holds. So, with all those caveats in there, generally speaking, around Thanksgiving is usually when things kind of bottom out for baseball before things kind of start creeping back up as we move through the hot stove season and into the build up for spring training. Now, interesting year, obviously, because we have Ohtani as a free agent. There is already rumors that Juan Soto is going to be traded. Obviously, his trip to San Diego has not done him any favors, but maybe a change of scenery will. We'll see. I just kind of wanted to pull up three, I don't want to say key players, but pretty popular players, pretty key players from baseball and just kind of see what their stuff did year over year. So this is going back to, I think I actually ran this in November 1st, so we're like a year and a week, a year and 10 days. I have Juan Soto's 2018 Bowman Prospect Auto PSA 10 BGS 95. Acuna, same thing, first Bowman, PSA 10 BGS 95, and then J-Rod's PSA 10 BGS 95, first Bowman Auto. I just thought it was kind of interesting. Now, I will put one little caveat on here. The PSA 10 Acuna, this shows up 138%. One is not sold in almost a month. And I did glance. There is one on eBay for auction, but the starting price is like $2K and no one has been bidding on it. At last I looked, it ended in like 4 or 5 hours and it had no bids on it. So maybe that one snags a bid, but I have a feeling the next one that goes off will not be that high. So I have to imagine it might still be up, but it's not going to be up 138%. You can see his BGS 95 is basically flat year over year. So obviously Soto had a perfectly fine year, but that's not good enough. Not anymore. That is just not good enough. Him having a just perfectly okay year. We'll see if he gets moved. Maybe his stuff bounces up, but year over year, his stuff's down about 40%. Down at the bottom, J-Rod, same boat. His BGS 95 is down about 40%. The PSA 10 is down about 50-60%. Difference here is he started slow, but he actually came on pretty strong late into the year. I would not be surprised if either one of these two guys do see a run up or some sort of price increase heading into next season. Maybe not necessarily these specific cards, just these players in general. Soto is probably going to have a trade to potentially boost his value. We will see where he ends up. J-Rod, like I said, he closed the season very strong. Actually, if you look at his numbers, had a very, very good year. I have to imagine that he gets a little hype heading into next year as well. Acuna, obviously, probably going to win the NL MVP this year. Had an amazing season, an absolutely amazing season. And what I kind of want to drill home here is, even with the fantastic season that he had, yes, they got eliminated from the playoffs. He didn't make the World Series. We'd probably be having a different conversation if he did. But year over year, even with him winning the NL MVP or presumed to be winning the NL MVP, at least the BGS 95, perfectly flat. So he had a tremendous season, went 40-70, and his card stayed flat in a BGS 95. PSA 10, like I said, we'll kind of have to wait for the next sale to go off, but you get the general idea here. Having an outstanding season. He basically, I don't want to say he met expectations, because 40-70 is like, even that is crazy. That's way above expectations, but I don't know. It takes a lot for these prices to jump when the players have so much baked into them already. I know we talk about that a lot, but I think it's important to drive that home. Football. 90 days back on this one. Once again, we're just going to take a little bit of a macro look here. Silver Prisms, PSA 10s. Over the last 90 days, this is what has gone up. Brock Purdy, number 1. Tua, number 2. And then this, Brock and Tua were actually quite a bit higher. If we did this a month ago, these would have been up way higher, but they are already starting to trend back to their price over the late summer. Tyreek Hill up slightly, well, up a lot percentage-wise. Jonathan Taylor up now that he's back. TJ Watt, Bailey Zappi. I guess people are already speculating about him probably taking over for Mac. Jared Goff, Christian McCaffrey. Those are your top handful of guys. The thing I want you to note here is how much the price actually went up. The number one spot is $200. The number two spot is $166. I'm going to flip this chart around. Once again, silver PSA 10s over the last 90 days. The other thing that you notice here, which I think is worth noting, what are the price points of most of these cards? Yeah, we have Tua and Purdy at $700 at the top. Then we have a $300 card, basically a $150 card, $150 card, a sub $100 card, a $200 card, a $180 card. Let's flip the script on this. Over the last 90 days, Burrow down $1,000. Trevor Lawrence down $1,000. The number one card going up was up $200. The number one and number two card going down are down over 1,000. Then we dropped the 500, 500, 500, 350, 290, 230, 220. I got to go almost 10 cards deep until I get around the $200 drop range, which is what the card was going up. The other thing to note, the price points on the high end. Higher end is just getting murdered. That's a 2K card, a 1.5K card, a 3.2 card. That one's over a K in the Herbert. High-end football just continues to take a beating. I shouldn't say high-end football, just higher-priced cards. Things north of $1,000 are just not aging well as kind of the whole market continues to correct itself. And the higher the highs, the bigger the falls, basically. Now, once again, we just talked about it in baseball. These guys all had a ton of expectations built into them. Burrow, Lawrence, Herbert, Fields, Hurts. And they are all trending down. Some of the notable names on there that are trending down. Jalen Hurts. Hurts having an amazing season. Patrick Mahomes is number 3 on that list. Now, it's only down 15%. His swings a little bit harder. The numbers do because it's so high priced. But still down $500. Chiefs look pretty good. They're one of the best teams in the league. Jalen Hurts, one of the best teams in the league. And then you got the real craters like Justin Fields down 75%. Jordan Love down a ton. Deshaun Watson down a ton as he struggled to stay healthy. Burrow, obviously, he's been turning things around lately. We'll see where that ends up going. Trevor Lawrence, sure, the Jaguars are playing great. They look good. We'll see what they do today. But Lawrence isn't lighting up the pinball machine. He isn't lighting up the scoreboard, for lack of a better term. And his stuff's down. Herbert, same thing. Just cursed by the Chargers. Poor Herbert. Football continues to be very, very messy. The amount, I would bet over the last couple months, more money has been lost on paper in the football market than any other of the major sports. Probably by a decent margin. Let's finish up with a little bit of basketball talk. Season is well underway, and there are some guys off to some tremendous starts. And their card prices are reflecting an increase, which is good to see. Now, there's a trend here we're going to notice. These are some of the top performing cards price-wise, and these are some of the players that are off to really strong starts to the campaign that weren't talked about a ton over the offseason. What do we see here? First up, Tyrese Maxey. Probably the biggest winner so far this season with James Harden leaving. Maxey has just been unlocked. Him and the Sixers in general look absolutely fantastic. PSA 10 silver. I ran these back 60 days. Sorry, so it takes us to the beginning of September. Up 135%. Scotty Barnes. Remember him? Amazing rookie season. Beat out Evan Mobley for Rookie of the Year. Had a terrible sophomore season. Guess what? He's back. Scotty been playing out of his mind for the Raptors, and his card prices have nearly doubled since the season started, up 73%, $100 increase. Jalen Duren for the Pistons, playing also absolutely amazing, out of his mind, putting up huge numbers. I have him in a couple best ball leagues. He's just putting up huge stat lines, up 97%. Cam Thomas, now he did just get hurt. He sprained an ankle. I haven't seen, or it's probably out there. I don't know exactly how long he's out for. He has been on a tear to start the season after he showed some major flashes last year. His card price is up 235%. a $235 increase. Now, that'll probably retrace a little bit with the injury, but these guys are getting rewarded for their strong starts. Other thing I wanted to note here, like we just talked about on the previous slide, the prices. These guys were not expensive to begin with. Maxey was the most expensive one at a little under $200. Scotty Barnes was a little over $100. Duran, a little over $100. Cam Thomas at $100. Now, for Thomas and Duran, the other thing to note, little asterisks there, lower pop counts. Market Mover's pop counts lag a little bit behind. Those are probably increased since then, but still, their population counts are going to be a lot lower than a Scotty Barnes or a Tyrese Maxey, just because of the nature of the players. And Durham was just in 2022 Prism. So I'm sure those will grow. We see that all the time. So that's going to deflate their prices a little bit. But the key takeaway here is, as we've said before, these really $200 cards and under, it's way easier for that to double in price than a Lucas Silver PSA 10. For that card to go from whatever they are now, like 1.2K to even 2K, not quite double, it would be nearly impossible for something like that to happen. He would just have to be playing out of his mind, win the MVP, and probably push them to the NBA Finals for that to happen with his card prices. For Scotty Barnes at $100 a slab, he needs to have a strong start to the season for like a month, and his card's double in price. Keep that in mind. I think this is where the focus needs to shift to, is more speculative plays on these lower end guys. When they pop off, their prices really pop. When they don't, you don't get burned as bad because the crash isn't as hard because they were already pretty cheap to begin with. More of a guessing game. Got to use your sports knowledge, your skill, actually watch the games. But I still think that's probably the best way if you actually want to buy and hold for a little bit. Cherry pick some players that you like in the off season. Try to pick their stuff up cheap. Sit on it for a month or two. See what happens. And then the second they start playing well and the prices begin to move, be on the lookout to sell your stuff. Don't get cute. That's all I got for you, boys and girls. We will catch you on the next one. Everyone have a great NFL Sunday. Peace.